Okay, let me wait for the recording to start. Okay, great. Hi guys, good day. I hope you guys are having a nice time. This is another beautiful Angular Africa meetup, and I really want to welcome you guys. Thank you guys for always being around. So today we are having Aristides. I don't know if I pronounced it well. Aristides.
Yeah, you pronounced it just fine.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Aristides is a front-end web developer and works with Plex, and is also an Angular GDE. So he will be taking us on electronifying our Angular app today. So I think the floor is open for you, Aristides.
Thank you, Val. Okay. I suppose you can see my screen. If you don't, just raise your hand so that I can adjust it. My name is Aristides Bampakos, but you can call me Aris if you want because it is shorter, and I'm from Greece. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to electronify your Angular application. In other words, how to run your Angular application in desktop mode with Electron. So, what we are going to cover today, we will see some basic introduction to we will see the basics actually of the Electron.js framework. We will see two different approaches on how to integrate Angular with Electron, an easy approach and a difficult approach. And then we will see how to run our Angular application with Electron with no code from our side. Just want to say some things about me because you may not know me. I work as a front-end web developer at a company called PlexEarth, as Val said, and I'm also a Google developer expert for the Angular framework. I organize a similar meetup like this one at Athens, which is the capital of Greece, and it's called Angular Athens Meetup. And also I work as a senior Angular instructor at an educational institute called Code Hub. I'm a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed series, and you can see that from the flag behind me, or from my new hoodie, which is called Assassin's Creed. And unfortunately, the last 2 years, I don't have time to play my favorite video games because I spent some time authoring books for Pact Publishing. I have already written a book for Angular, which is this one. It is called Learning Angular 3rd edition, and it is destined for beginners. It guides you how to create a new Angular application from scratch using Angular CLI, up to how to deploy it to a web server. There is also a bonus chapter that describes how to create a real-world Angular application with all the knowledge that you acquire from the previous chapters. This book is available to order from Amazon website and from Pact. And also, I'm finishing my second book for Angular, which is called Angular Projects, 2nd edition. And it is a book that is destined for intermediate and advanced Angular developers. It actually showcases how to build 10 different Angular applications with 10 different hot technologies, cutting edge technologies. For example, each chapter is a different project, right? So you have a chapter that shows you how to build a monorepo application with NX and NGRX. There is also another one that shows you how to build a mobile application with Ionic, or another one how to build a server-side render application. So this book is available to pre-order from the Amazon website. I have also put a link in my slides for a Google form where you can enter your email so that you get notified when it is released officially. Or you can scan the QR code that I have put. The book is expected to be published around middle of May or the beginning of June. So, enough of me and my achievements. Let's get started with the talk. Now, what is Electron? Electron is a JavaScript framework that allows us to create cross-platform desktop applications with web technologies. And when we say web, of course, we mean HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It is actually an NPM package that we can install from the NPM package registry using the normal install command. We install it as a development dependency in our project, as you can see from the -D option, because Electron is not used runtime in our application. It is used only during development to package our application as a desktop one, in a desktop window. Now, Electron is built with Node.js and Chromium. Actually, it contains a version of both of them inside. And the main advantage is that you can leverage your existing web skills to create desktop applications without learning a new language, such as C# or C++. There are many popular applications built with Electron, such as Visual Studio Code, Slack, and Microsoft Teams. So let's see the architecture of an Electron application. It consists of two processes, the main process and the renderer. The main process is responsible for making heavy calculations and tasks. For example, if you want to interact with the file system. And it is this process that provides access to the native resources of our system, of our computer actually, using the Node.js API. The render process is responsible for the user interface and is usually a single HTML file like index.html that contains our application assets, our files that contain our application. Now, Electron applications are based in the multi-process architecture of Chromium. So in an Electron application, you can only have one main process that can communicate with multiple render processes. Each render process operates in complete isolation. So let's see how we create an Electron application. An Electron application is actually a JavaScript file, a main.js, as we have in Node.js applications, and we need to import first two artifacts from the Electron npm package. The first one is the app object, which is the global object of the Electron application, and you can think of it as our browser. The browser window is the second artifact that we need to import, and it is the window that goes inside our global app object. You can think of it as the tab of our browser. So we use the constructor of the browser window class to create a browser window, and we pass some options, for example, the size of our window. An app can have one or many browser windows. After we have created the browser window using the constructor, we use the load file method and we pass an HTML file that contains our application assets. Now, we create this window only when the app is ready to be, only when the app has been created. And how do we know that an app has been created? When the when ready promise has been resolved. So we need to make sure always that we can create a window only when the app is available. And this is it, the minimum viable code that you need to create an Electron application. How do we run this application? We open our terminal and use the Electron npm executable, passing the path to the main.js file as a parameter. And then our desktop application window will open. Pretty simple, right? If you have any question, you can interrupt me, okay? No problem. So let's stand back a bit and take a high-level overview of an Electron application. You know, I like very much ice creams. I love ice creams. So generally in computing and in software development, I like to think for my problems about my problems as ice creams. So an Electron application is like an ice cream. The bottom part of the ice cream is the main process, the main.js. The toppings of the ice cream, the different flavors, are our application assets, the CSS, HTML, and JavaScript files. So if we put them together, what we have? An ice cream. An Electron application. But what is happening when we want some extra flavors instead of the default ones? We want an ice cream with Angular flavor. Well, things are a bit more complicated in this case because the build process is a bit different. So how would we build an application that contains Angular and Electron? Build both of them at the same time. We take the Electron code, the main.js, and we pass it through a bundler, for example, Webpack. And we output a single file, which is called cell.js for convention, because Electron will be the cell of our application. Now, this cell.js is the bundled output of the main.js, right? At the same time, we take our Angular code, pass it and compile it with Angular CLI, and of course, generate our application bundle, which is main.js. Now, these two files are generated inside the same dist folder. And why is that? Because if you recall previously, the main.js needs the index.html file so that it can open. So if we put them in the same folder, the cell.js will find the index.html file of our Angular application and will open it normally. So then we can run, as previously, the electron npm command with the path of the cell.js, and we will have an Angular application rendered inside an Electron cell. How cool is that? Of course, this is the difficult approach, right? There is an alternate approach which is more easy, and it uses the load URL method of the main window instead of the load file. The load URL takes the URL of our Angular application, the URL of where it is hosted, as a parameter. So imagine that with the load URL, you can make any application, any website, an Electron application, right? You can put whatever you want there. What are the benefits and the disadvantages of each one? The first approach, which is the file approach, the complicated one, is more secure because all the assets of our application are loaded from the local file system. So there are no major security problems there. But the deployment is difficult because you need to make a unified build of both parts, the Electron part and the Angular part, and deploy them together as a single executable file. And that is the reason which is difficult to update, because if you need to make a change to your Angular code, you then need to build again both parts, and the Electron and the Angular, create an executable file, and publish it. The URL approach, which is the easy one, has more security issues because you're actually loading an external URL inside your window. So you don't know the content that is in this URL, what it's going to contain. It may be malicious code, you don't know that. But it's more difficult to deploy because you make a separate build for each side, separate for Electron, separate for Angular, and also it is easier to update because you can update your Angular application and deploy it to your web server without the Electron application to build together. This approach also works very well for organizations where each application is developed from a different team. For example, one team builds the Electron side, and another team builds the Angular side. Okay. So we have already said that in an Electron application we have two processes, the main and the renderer, right? So how do we communicate between these two processes? There is a mechanism which is called inter-process communication, or IPC, and it allows you to exchange messages between these two processes in an asynchronous way. This mechanism is promise-based. So you have two interfaces, the IPC main interface and the IPC render interface that communicate over a single channel. In the case of integrating Angular with Electron, IPC main is written in the Electron side, for example, in the main.js, and the renderer is written in the Angular side, for example, inside an Angular service. We will see an example soon. Let's see how this would be implemented in our application in a simple way. First, we're going to implement the IPC main interface. So what do? We import the IPC main interface from Electron, and then we use the handle method of the IPC main, and we pass two parameters. The first one is the name of the channel, the channel that we will use to communicate. The second parameter is an arrow function that will be called when someone sends a message to the pirate's channel. In our case, we just return a list of pirate names. Please also notice that we set the node integration property to true inside the browser window. Why do we do that? Because we want to give access of the Node.js API to the renderer. And the renderer is the Angular side, which is this one. Here we have created an Angular service that injects the Electron service. In this example, I have used a library which is called ngx-electron, and it is a wrapper API over the actual Electron API. So this library exposes an Electron service that I can use to get access to the IPC renderer interface and call the invoke method. And the invoke method, I pass the same channel name as the one defined in the IPC main interface. So this parameter, this name, must be the same in both sides so that they can communicate. In this example, we have created a method that requests pirate names from the Electron side. So that's the case. Right. So I have shown you how to integrate an Angular and an Electron application by writing code by your own. I will now show you how to use a library that I have created, which is called ngx-electronify, that allows you to run your Angular application in an Electron window without any code. So you can install it. It is an Angular CLI builder. It has been built with the Angular CLI Builder API, and you can install it using the add schematic. So you just type ng-add ngx-electronify, and then you can run your application in desktop mode. Let's switch to Visual Studio Code so that I can show you a demo. I would be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Yeah. In case you have any question for Aris, you can just bring it in while we move to VSCode. Welcome, Mohammed. You're welcome as well.
Okay, here I have an Angular CLI application without any extra features. I have only executed the ng-new using the CLI and nothing more. So if I run it with ngserve, just to verify that it works with in the standard mode, in the web mode. Okay. Let me open a browser. If I go to localhost 1000. Okay, here is the Angular application, nothing fancy. Now I will take this application and will put it in the side, okay? And I will stop the Angular CLI build and I will use the library, the ngx-electronify, to run the same application in desktop mode. And how do I do that? I have already run ng-add ngx-electronify. I have already installed it in my project. So the only thing I need to do is run run the name of my application and then desktop. Now this will build your Angular application in serve mode, and it will start the web server under the hood at localhost 4200, and then it will open the application inside the Electron window. Let me know if you don't see that. Okay. Now this is a desktop window. You can see that it has a menu. It has a title bar. It has a maximize, minimize buttons. It's like a browser, but it is not. This area here is a Chromium. Is a Chromium embedded inside Electron. For example, if I go to View, Toggle Developer Tools, I have the standard developer tools just like I have with just with any ordinary browser, right? I can inspect my application, and it's like a browser. Okay, so let me show you something magic now. I will put this here and this one here. I have the same application. The right one is in desktop mode, runs as a desktop application. The left one, I think I say the side's correct for you. Excuse me if I'm not. And the other one is the web mode. So if I go and change something in my application, for example, I change the title to Angular Africa Rocks and save it. You will see that it is updated in both windows, in the web window and in the desktop window, right? Now, this library also supports Angular CLI projects, but also NX monorepo projects. So if you have many projects in your monorepo, you can, when you download it with the ng-add, you can say in which project you want to install it. There is also another option that you can use if you go to the angular.json file. Here is the section for the ngx-electronify. You can say, for example, in the options that I want to use as a configuration my production, right? So it will build your Angular application for production and then open the desktop application, the Electron window. Right. Let's switch back to the slides. So, what's next for the library? We're planning to release two major features. The first one is that we want to give the users the ability to export their Angular application as a single executable file, so that you can take it and publish it and give it to your customers and stuff like that. You can do whatever you want when you have a single executable file, because this one is just a preview, right? It's in development mode right now. Second, we want to integrate some Chrome extensions that are working with Angular, for example, Augury, so that you can get a decent debugging experience even inside Electron. And third, and most important, we want to provide a service, a wrapper service over the Electron API, so that you can write your custom code between the main and the render process. For example, you may want to, when you're running your application in web mode, you may want to get your data from a REST API, but when you run your application in desktop mode, you may want to get your data from the file system. This sort of interaction. Now, I would like to talk a bit about security, because it's very important. You see, many people in the world think that Electron is a browser, but actually it is not a browser. It looks like, because it behaves like a browser, right? So when you have Chrome has a ton of security precautions installed inside each engine, and it is very safe, or Firefox, or Microsoft Edge. But Electron doesn't have any security considerations at all. You need to enable them by your own. So it is up to the developer to take to apply some security best practices, so that it makes his application safer. And also, we should not forget that Electron applications are HTML files and JavaScript files. So every security problem that exists in web applications exists also in Electron applications, even if they look like desktop applications. So why someone should use Electron? It's a question that they ask me a lot, because, to be honest, Electron is something that is not very usual. You don't need it in your everyday development life so much. So I have listed here 3 possible use cases. The first one is if you want to create an application that emulates a multi-tab environment, just like the browser does. For example, to open pages inside your application in different tabs. Electron can do this because it can support multiple browser windows in a single app object, as I said at the beginning. Second, when you want to provide a native look and feel for your application, for example, you want to have the native menus or the 3 buttons on the bottom for maximizing and minimizing or closing your application. And third, when you have already a desktop application and you want to create a tool that goes with this desktop application. In these slides and the resources, I have put some helpful links if you want to check out. The first two are Electron. The first two is from the Electron website. The first is the Electron website, and the second one is the Quick Start Guide, which I would recommend if someone wants to get started with Electron. The other two are security-based. The first one now will redirect you to the Security Best Practices Guide on the Electron website. And the other one is a podcast talk that I made in Real Talk JavaScript podcast some months ago about how to secure your Electron applications. And on the other side, I have 3 links. The first one is the link of my library, ngx-electronify. The second one is an Angular and Electron integration sample that is based on the difficult approach that I talked about. And the third one is the ngx-electron. Notice not to be confused with Electronify. The ngx-electron has not been written by me. It's a wrapper API over the Electron API. And I used it in my sample code. So to recap what we saw today, we saw some basic introduction on the Electron internals. Then we saw how to approach 2 different approaches, how to integrate Angular with Electron, the easy and the difficult, which is very, very difficult. I would not recommend it. And the third, and finally, we saw how to run an Angular application in desktop with no code, right? So thanks again for your time, and feel free to ask me anything. I can answer everything literally.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think Oye, okay. Oye has a question. Anyway, well, before you ask a question, I want to say thank you to Aristides. Aristides is the first GD that is presenting. The first GD outside Buni, the first one that's presenting to us. I really want to say thank you for taking this upon yourself to do this for us. Special thanks. Yeah.
It was a pleasure, Val. I really enjoyed your very cozy environment in this channel.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Oye.
We can hear you, Oye.
Your mic is on mute, Oye.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, big thank you to you for this wonderful talk. I'm very happy. So my question goes as thus. So remember when you opened the desktop view for the demo you showed us, and we had like the menu bar on top. Is there any way we have control over what shows up in the menu bar with the current configuration we have?
Yes, the Electron API contains a method which is called set application menu, where you create your own menu. What I do is that I detect if the application runs in production mode, the Electron application, not the Angular. And if it runs in production mode, I display the production menu. If not, I leave the default menu so that I can debug and have access to the developer tools and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. That sounds good.
Okay, that's great. Do we have other questions? Okay, Fisayo.
Thank you very much, Iris, for the talk. I really enjoyed it. The question is about low-level APIs for desktop. Does Electron allow for things like Bluetooth control, Wi-Fi, and other things? Then which would you recommend, Progressive Web App or Electron apps?
Right. I haven't used any of these APIs, even a Bluetooth API that you mentioned. There is a Bluetooth API for the Chrome, right? So you can create a PWA and use that. But I think it is more safe and robust to talk directly with the Bluetooth via an Electron application. Now, I have not used it before, so I don't know if there is a plugin. I think I have seen something about Bluetooth, but you can check out in the Electron website. I have never used Electron with an API, with a device API, right? For example, serial API, Bluetooth API, or camera. My main experience with Electron is interacting with the file system, because at the company that I work, we keep the data locally in the file system so that we don't go to an API and get them.
Okay, I have a question around that, but does that mean if you want to probably, after saving, the data locally on your system, and then maybe at a certain point in time you want to push that, those data to, an external repository, maybe your database somewhere in the cloud, can you do that?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question well. Can you repeat?
Okay. If I save, if I have an Electron app on my laptop, yeah, and then at the end of the day, maybe it's a sales application that collects data from customers and all that, and at the end of the day, can I send this data from my application to my database as a local?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The application, all the data of the application are saved in the user data folder, which is the app data. If you have Windows, it is called app data folder. In Mac, it's called differently. So all files that this application is concerned are saved there. So you can get them and write custom code so that you can post it somewhere else.
Okay.
It's like I can understand that you are referring to offline mode, to an application that runs in offline mode, and then when it finds the internet, it posts data. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Fizzy, your hand is still up. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Val. So this works like magic, because while you were demoing, I quickly created a quick Angular app and I tried it and it's up and running. So you've done like a very, very wonderful job here. It's working like magic. I think I heard you during the presentation that the next thing in line is to actually work on how to export it. So it means it's available right now only in development, right?
Yeah. When I say only in development, is that you cannot get it and go away like an executable, right?
Yeah.
So
if I want to create an exe now, we'll have to create like a local, like a custom Electron app like that. Like I can't use this and take it straight to production as it is.
No, but if you are patient, I will implement it next week maybe, because it's my top priority for now.
Okay.
One big disadvantage, however, which is I want to say something that is related with what Fizzy said, is that one big disadvantage of Electron applications are that they are very large. Okay, so my app, the Angular CLI application that I show you without any extra code is 200 kilobytes when you build it as an Angular application. When you make it an Electron application, it goes to 120 megabytes. This is a big caveat for an application, But sometimes you can live with it.
For a web application, it is big. Maybe for a desktop, you can manage it.
Yeah. You need if you think that in the company that I work, our main product, which is a big product, is 20 megabytes, and the tool that we have created with Electron and Angular is 90 megabytes. It's more.
It's more. Okay. Wow. Okay, great. Do you still have more questions for Aris?
That's all from me.
I have a question. I have one question.
Okay.
Thanks for this presentation. I just have a very simple one. This package ngx-electronify, do you need to have the Angular server on while trying to use this package, or it creates a server, it turns it on automatically?
No, it uses the server of the Angular, the embedded server of the Angular.
Okay.
So if you have an Angular CLI application, you are good to go.
All right.
Anyway, in my head, I already have something that I would want to try this with. I would like to build an ECRO, application. That's an electronic cash register where people that have retail shops and all that can, do stuff. And, I don't need to learn how to build desktop application using any other language when I already know Angular. So this is really a great one. I'm really going to try this out, and I think I should share with you when I'm done.
Yeah, if anyone of us tries it with a big application, for example, not just an Angular CL application, a big one, for example, at your work, let me know on the outcome. I would very interested to see how it looks like. Okay. I think when I have made also this talk in the Angular APAC channel in Angular Nation, and we converted live the Tetris application, the Angular Tetris application that Trang Vo has created, if you know that.
Yeah, I was there, and that was a very amazing
talk. To be honest, Angular is not something usual, right? But the reason that I created this library, there are two reasons, right? The first one is to showcase what you can do with Angular, because there are many things that you can do with this awesome framework, right? And the second reason is that I do it just for fun and for experimenting, not waiting something more, right? But if someone uses it, yeah, that would be great.
Right, and this shows the power of Angular when it's opinionated, because if you want to do this kind of thing in React, for example, you have to consider different kind of tools. Some people use Webpack Create, some people use Create React App. So you wouldn't have a single place where you can plug a package into and build Electron. You have to consider a lot of things. But because we have a single CLI that has some sort of plugin system, you can easily do this kind of thing, and it just works everywhere. So it's one of the reasons why I love Angular.
Yeah, that's right. The Angular CLI is the basis of all. So if you can extend it, you can do many things. Yeah, that's very correct that you said. We can hear you, Val.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much once again, Aris. Really enjoyed this session. And thank you everyone for joining. So we added something recently to spice up our Tuesdays hangout. We added the news session. So Oyemade will be giving us some news around Angular, updates around Angular, and some things like that. Although we are supposed to get updates from the Angular Nation too, but the person who was supposed to take that is not here today. So Yamadi will just give us updates on what's happening around Angular. So yeah,
I think I'll just handle both so we don't get to miss anything. I'll just give both updates.
Oh, great.
So I think I'll start with Angular Nation first. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you had a great time, and a big shout out to Aries for coming to share this amazing library with us. We're really happy. Thank you very much, Aries. Okay, so this is Angular Africa, channel on Angular Nation, and we have our meetings twice every month on Tuesdays. So what that means is that for every 2 Tuesdays we have a meeting, and it's usually around 5:30. I think we had a time zone issue today, so it came around 4:30, but usually around 5:30 to 6:30. So the next Angular Nation meeting we're going to be having is tomorrow, and that's on another channel called Angular APAC. If you're available, I think it's going to be a nice one. The topic is Angular Builders with Jeffrey Bush. I think a couple of people here might know who Jeffrey is. Jeffrey is actually the main developer behind XLayers. I don't know whether you know XLayers, a tool for integrating design and design to code. So yeah, I think we might want to just see what that's about if available. Then after that, we have another event on Friday called Friday Socials. So it's just like an end of the week gathering for everyone on Angular Nation, where we can just come together and just cheer ourselves up a bit. So let me just stop there for now. So in terms of news concerning Angular, Angular version 12 is coming out very soon. And Angular says there will be enabling strict mode by default, which is actually something I think is going to be beneficial to everybody. And if you have time, you might want to check out a Spotify Angular app that was built by Trong. Trong is actually a member of the Angular Impact channel, so you might want to check it out. It's an awesome project. I've seen it, and I think it's something that everyone can learn a thing or two from. So thank you very much for listening. Over to you, Carl.
Thank you very much, Oye. Thank you. Okay, I think that's all for today, but I want to specially welcome Muhammad to Angular Africa. I want to welcome Osaz, Kolapo, and Dylan Hall. I think this is the first time I'm seeing you guys here. Guys, welcome. If you want to show your face, we'll be glad to see it. And, or if you want to say hi, you can unmute your mic and say hi.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have my camera set up today.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Osaz.
Okay. As you can see, I'm just coming from work. I'm in my street. That's why I didn't turn on my camera.
Oh, okay. Welcome. Okay. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we've seen Kolapo, Muhammad, sorry. Do you want to say hi? Okay. Anyways, thank you once again. And so we have these, if you're following the Angular Africa, you can just go to the event to see what is coming up next. I think we have another talk on the 13th of April. And just, you can RSVP to the event so you don't get to miss it. And hopefully we're going to have Sanda and Buni there as well. Yeah. So thank you guys. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you, Wal. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.